We looked at strategy based on competence. There is a completely different view that strategy should be based not on competence within but on competition outside. In other words, what is more important is not competence. What is more important is competition in the outside environment. Competition, potential competition. This view of strategy has been enunciated and made popular by Professor Michael Porter of the Harvard Business School. We are familiar with Professor Porter's 5 forces model. We are familiar with the value chain. We are familiar with the generic strategies. Now, Professor Porter and Kenichi Ohmae. Kenichi Ohmae is a Japanese consultant. He, till some time back, was the head of McKinsey Consultancy Company in Japan. So, Michael Porter and Kenichi Ohmae are two of the leading advocates of this view of strategy, that is a competition view of strategy, not a competence view of strategy. Now, what Michael Porter and Kenichi Ohmae say is that strategy is a question of the 3 C's. It's a question of balancing the customer requirements, customer expectations, customer attitudes with company capabilities, company resources, company constraints, and competition, competitive responses, competitive abilities, competitive resources. So, these 3 C's form the 3 apexes of the strategic triangle. Okay, this is the competition based view of strategy. Let's take an example. Now, let's assume, let's look at Maruti. Maruti, for a long time, from the early 80s till about 10 years ago, ruled the Indian market on the basis of its competence to keep costs low. Maruti's competence is to produce a good functional automobile vehicle, a good functional car at minimum prices. Maruti is in this matter somewhat like the Bata company when it comes to shoes. For branded shoes, Bata's produce the cheapest branded shoes, the cheapest good branded shoes. In the same way, Maruti produces good cars, the cheapest good cars. This is Maruti's competence. Now, what has happened in the last 10 years? In the last 10 years, following the slow entry of foreign companies into India, the last 10 years have seen number of automobile companies, the Hyundai and Honda and several automobile companies entering India. Now, these companies have come in and they have exposed the Indian consumer to certain expectations. They have exposed the Indian consumer to certain kinds of models which have created in them certain kinds of expectations of style, elegance, comfort. Now, this was not the competence model of strategy that Maruti prospered on. Maruti now requires the competition model of strategy, where it looks not at its competence, but it looks outside at the competition. So that's the competition view of strategy.